tradition of celebrating the setting sun is as old as Key West. We have records all throughout Key West history of people from all walks of life communing and enjoying what is now Mallory Square. And the tradition has evolved into the now Sunset Celebration, a nightly art festival that features street performers, musicians, artists, food vendors. It's an event that separates Key West from other tourist spots, and it elicits so many wonderful feelings.
Special.
Spectacular.
Fantastic.
Home.
Enchanted.
Marvelous.
Magical.
Special.
Inspiring.
Freedom.
Joy.
Eclectic.
Magical.
It is magic. And I know so many people, it sounds very trite, but it is. I mean, you get to meet people from all over the world, not just the States. Those interactions and having such a happy interaction every day you come to work. There's really no stress. People are so happy to be out here. It's wonderful.
You get to meet a local artist, the person who's making your art, which is super unique. And you get to see amazing performers, local performers. And it's just a magical, weird spot to watch the sunset.
I've been here 25 years. 25 years. It's a wonderful place. It really is. It's like no other place in the world. It's famous forever. It's famous. Yes, it wasn't a problem discovering it. No. I started as a carpenter and a woodworker. I'm a fourth generation woodworker. I developed my product, which was the wooden snowflakes, and it was really worked out well. Everything got better when I became an artist. Everything got better. It's wonderful. It's like the sun is like a magnet, and all the people kind of gravitate towards it, and the artists come in and they set up, and it's pretty simple. 2 hours before sunset, 2 hours after sunset. We follow the sun.
It's the first time I came to Key West. I used to be a professional stuntman, and that's how I got started in the business. And then through the circus, I got started in the performance as far as on stage and that. I was doing motorcycle stunts in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Some friends of mine, they'd come down here on vacation. I'd basically never heard of Key West, and this was 1980. But they showed me a bunch of pictures, and I saw pictures of Will and Don Hill and Bouncing Ooh La La and all that, and Scotty and John. And I'm going, wow, I probably worked my sword show down there. I just started street performing the year before. I came down here to check it out. And that night I got here kind of late, and they weren't renting rooms out. I didn't care. It was nice like it is right now, and pleasant. And I had a big old duffel bag with some swords in it and stuff. And I was just going to hang out all night until, morning, and then I'd go get a room. Two friends had a jazz band playing. So I sat listening to jazz, and then they took a break. And this tall guy, his name was Doc, and he's playing the keyboards and that. And I was jamming with the jazz, and all that. Well, he came out there and joined me in the parking lot. And he said, I noticed the duffel. He says, where are you from? I told him all over. Then after the show, he says, well, where are you going now? I says, well, I couldn't get a room yet, so I got to wait till morning. He says, nah, you're not doing that. So he took me home with him down in Bahama Village. He had a couple of kids and his wife. He had a spare small little bedroom back in the very back. And so he gave me that, and he kept me at his house the whole time and made me part of his family. Why do you stay in Key West? Why did you want to live here? I says, because all over the world I've traveled, fell in love with a lot of places. But Key West was the one that hugged me back. All these 44 years I've been here now. I just fell in love with the place and all that, but there wasn't much to it. There's just a plain dock. That was a parking lot out there instead of the big plaza. Will pretty much looked over as far as a lottery with us. We put our name on a piece of paper, throw it in a hat, and then somebody would just reach in and pick randomly. That way you're next, you pick your spot. A lot of times we had to share spots because there wasn't enough space.
Because I lived here for so long, I've always known about Mallory Square and the sunsets here. But when I came here, I was 8 years old, and I'm 70 now. So, this was all a parking lot with gravel. Everything was gravel.
So I used to come down here as a kid and, watch the sunset. The pier was totally different from when I was a kid. I mean, it was wood at one point, and then it was cement. In 2008, I started selling art here. Photography with lobster trap frames. My frames were different than the usual square and rectangle. Mine were more abstract. I made a pretty good living doing it, and who'd ever thought that I'd be doing what I was doing? I mean, not for nothing, my photography was terrible. I didn't know really what I was doing, but people still liked it. They still bought it. And I made a living from it. And I made a living doing it up until maybe 2016 or 17. And that's when I ended up being involved with the peer manager stuff.
I love little brain teasers and mathematical puzzles because I'm a nerd. And when I was a kid, I made a few random things and people thought those were cool. And I just have loved ever since making little clever things and giving them to people. When I was traveling, that's how I supported myself. In the 90s, you could sell anything on the streets, anything that sold well. There was actually people that would travel the world, going to different countries, selling their crafts and moving on. Some of those people said, you gotta try out Key West. That's why I came down here. A Greyhound bus with $500 in my pocket. I thought I was rich. Literally in all the places that I worked all over the world, I was always illegal. This was the only market where I could actually just show up and work, and I was legit, and it was easy to get a place back then. Just show up, work for a few weeks, for a few months, make some money, and after a while I just said, forget it, I'm gonna live here. It's a bunch of people that have chosen making things the way they want as the most important thing in their lives. Like, these are people that care more about doing things their way and sharing that with other people, and that's more important than money. That's more important than anything to them. The pride of doing something magically and doing something great is what they're all about. I have my wire sculptures, they have their paintings, they have their food, and they just want to live in their own little world where they can do these wonderful things and share with other people. This place raised me. I was, when I came down, I was a kid, and the elder folks back then raised me into who I am today, and that's why I stay involved, so I can keep that going for the next generations. I owe those people a lot.
I sailed down here to Key West, and the minute I got off the boat, I knew that this place was where I belonged. Walking around the street, I was enchanted with it. I saw a place at the time called Lazy Afternoon Restaurant, really quaint, sweet garden restaurant. And there was a sign up, help wanted. And I went and talked to them, and they said, oh, it's just to clean the kitchen to open it. It's like, I can do that. Had a bunch of things that they were getting rid of, and among them was a case of spiced apples. I said, maybe I can make something and sell it down at Mallory Square. So that's what I did. Was so different, I don't want to say, than it is now, but there was no rules, there was no drawing keys, there was no fighting over spaces. People just came. Some people would come with a blanket and lay the blanket out on the ground, and if they had stuff they wanted to sell, it was very free and easy. It was very fluid. I rode my bicycle and peddled my original recipe baked goods by rhyme. I didn't rhyme all the time.
Oh, you didn't? Okay.
It was a crime.
Oh. There it is. You got us.
I bake, shop, cut, and serve, so please give me what I deserve. Besides my rhymes to entertain, I hope my time is not in vain. Don't go insane. My mother, may she rest her soul, when she was invited to a party, she would compose rhymes, a rhyme, a poem for those people, and I would be helping her with that. She was also a fantastic baker. She never had a day when there wasn't something in the freezer. If somebody came to visit, she would have baked goods. So the apple didn't fall far from the tree.
My name is Bounce.
Now I'm Karen Grant. There was a time where when we did our shows where I was Mademoiselle Ooh La La.
In 1972, I was living in Boston, And I just met a guy who been to the Keys and raved about the Keys. December 73, I said, okay, I'm going to go to the Keys. And then I started hitchhiking down the Keys. I think it was December 27 in 73. I walked around Key West and I said, this place feels like home. Started performing February 75 on Mallory Square. And the very first day we're performing, I just said to the crowd, is there anyone here who has a backyard that would be willing that we could pitch a tent? And this one lady came up to me and says, we have a couple of spots in our backyard. It's $1 a night, $2 if you want a shower.
I went to acting school. That was my thing. I was going to be an actor. I ended up in London. And one day, the instructor walks in juggling. And I went, I used to do that. I ended up working as a juggler and an actor. Do you know locomotion? Yeah, I know. Well, they want you to join their show. And I went, what? That's like, you know, some Hollywood producer calling you up and saying, you want to be in my movie. It was like, I already had this little, you know, this twinkle in his eye. It was like, oh, I like this guy. I like this guy. And at one point, my parents said, well, why don't you invite him over for dinner? That night, dinner is over, and Mom and I get up, and Bounce helps clear the table, and Daddy, as usual, goes and sits on the sofa, and we're in the kitchen, and we're washing and drying the dishes, and all of a sudden we hear the vacuum cleaner going. It was like, Mother and I sort of slip out to the living room, look over there, and Bounce is down there, and he's found the vacuum cleaner in the hall closet, and he's vacuuming underneath the dining room table. And my mother turns to me and says, I don't care if he is a clown, marry him. We have a son, Daniel, who grew up on stage with us. That was Daniel's debut on Mallory Square at about 4 months old. We get to the end of the show, and Bounce says, you want to see the encore? And the crowd goes, yes, yes. So he lifts Daniel up out of...
Put him in my hand.
And balances him. So he was about 2 months old when you started balancing him in the palm of your hand, which is what jugglers did to their children. Daniel was not the first kid that this happened to. There were a number of city commissioners who thought that we were just like panhandlers and dirtbags, and he just thought it was terrible that we were down there. My partner and I came to Key West March of 77. And we showed up on Mallory Square to do our show. And we've attracted a huge crowd, and there's these two big, burly policemen who are sitting there staring at us with their arms crossed like this, and they're not smiling. Meanwhile, the crowd is just cracking up and having a great time. The show ends. We pass our hat. People loved us. Cops walk over, look at me, and they say, you're funny. We'll let you stay.
Because back then, sometimes the police would just shut it down.
They were the arbiters.
They would
of
just
good
shut
taste.
it down. You know, they said, no, we're not, no performing tonight.
I don't think they were happy that they were there, vis-a-vis myself, Ernesto Gonzalez, may he rest in peace, and Richard Bertocci, may he rest in peace too. The three of us were put in a paddy wagon and arrested for trespass for refusing to leave Mallory Square at sunset. The charges didn't stand. You can't have trespass in a public place.
Richard Bertocci had come down to Mallory Square. He was an artist. And the police showed up, and they walked over to his display, and they looked at his artwork and said, hey, you can't sell that stuff here. What are you talking about? Of course I can. I'm allowed to.
It wasn't obscene or anything.
No. But they did not like Richard's artwork. And they said, you got to pack it up and you got to get out of here. Which is, no, I don't have to. I have every right to be here. You get out of here now or we're going to arrest you. He says, I'm not leaving. They arrested him. They put him in handcuffs. They put him in the back of a police car. All of this was in front of his child. That was the impetus, the straw that broke the camel's back, why Richard started the Cultural Preservation Society.
So we formed the organization to protect Mallory, to protect artists, to expand, to have art being a more important thing. People from Mallory would meet after sunset or before sunset to plot and plan what to do in terms of keeping that going and keeping the artists going and all that, and consequently formed the Cultural Preservation Society. Before I was in Key West, I have a degree in social work, and I did community organization, drug and mental health counseling, and the last job I had working at a shelter for battered women and their children. So I have it in my blood, and when there's something that's not right, I stand up. It was not right what was going on, and it also had to do with me personally and my friends that were down at Mallory. So that's just how I am.
CPS owes you so much, and everything you guys did in those early days, we wouldn't be here without you.
Thank you. It was lots of fun, and I'm glad it's not done.
Then the artists and that, along with some other people, and they weren't even participants down here. All right, there's like a dive master and all kinds of other people that did the original board. Captain Tony helped us out, and that was and then eventually in '84 is when it finally culminated into a contract. It was a bit of a fight to get the city to agree, but they agreed to the contract that finally said that all the artists have to make everything be juried in and all that. They were satisfied with that, instead of just all kinds of stuff like over here in Mallory Market. So that's how we came up with the contract and all that. Although we would have liked to got that $1 a year contract like the yacht club.
There were a lot of people that weren't necessarily part of Mallory Square, but it was very supportive. Back then, the businesses were so supportive of us. It was before the cruise ships took hold, and it was a draw. And so this also has lots of ads like Domino's Pizza. The guy who was the franchise owner of that was so supportive. He was like a vital part of the Cultural Preservation Society. Captain Tony Terracino, may he rest in peace. He was so involved with that. There were 2 of these. This is the 2nd annual Sunset Hall of Fame Awards.
Cultural Preservation Society had, at their very first banquet affair gala, these were given to the performers who had either been there the longest or contributed the most in the spirit of the Sunset Celebration.
The very first thing is to preserve this spirit of Mallory Square Sunset Celebration, its history, tradition, and promoting art, promoting artists, documenting artists in public land for artistic purposes. Some of that has come about. Preservation and growth of the artistic and cultural activities. I mean, there's not a week that goes by where there's not something.
Swing, flying through the hello. Over here, he's head, landing on the other side on this hard concrete, risking my life for your amusement. Everybody go, yeah! Yeah! How many people think I deserve something for the show? Say, yay! Yeah! Allow me, please, to introduce to y'all a very small bucket. You're not laughing anymore. This is street theater. I'm a senior performer here at Mallory Square for almost 42 years. Are you ready for the jump stay, yeah?
I've been selling my artwork for 8 years now at the Sunset Celebration. I like to paint throughout the day. I paint all the time as much as possible. And then I come here a little bit before sunset and I set all my stuff up and I get to watch this beautiful sunset every night. I worked as a business administrator at a blueprint company in Cleveland, Ohio, and I had the most boring life, sitting in a cubicle all day long with no windows. And I just wanted to be happy because you only have one life to live. So I'm just glad I get this life here. It means the world to me. I finally get to do something that I love doing in my life and not a boring job. And I'm just very grateful and lucky for the life that I live here.
The community really appreciates what we do out here. There's a lot of local people that, you know, they have company and guests and they want something to do. And this is about the only free thing that they can do in Key West without having to pay for entertainment and whatnot.
I make French-style crepes. I'm a chef by trade, so I've cooked all sorts of stuff. I've run my own restaurants. I've done a lot of different things in food, really. You know, the whole environment of Mallory is a lot more relaxed. A restaurant environment is very fast-paced. You know, most people don't even understand what's going on behind the scenes. So this is just a little take on a bigger thing that I do. You get a lot of people coming up to the car saying, wow, this is an amazing spot, what a job you have, you know, you've got an amazing office, and it's true. Who could complain about that, really? Everybody comes to Mallory because they're on vacation or they're local and they just want to break, you know, and change their mindset, come watch the sunset and watch a couple of the shows. So, you know, you can only have happy memories from being at Mallory, you know.
We had 2 stores down here. We closed them in 2006, 2007. I thought to myself, what do I want to do? And I thought, of course, I'll do this. So, you know, one door closed, the next door opened. So I just walked into it. Here I am. I would say that I've been doing this, reading cards publicly since 1978. So that was when disco was hot. You never really realize your own value and your own worth, especially when I started here. So of course I wanted to dress up because I thought it would be more attractive to people. But in actuality, it turned out to be a complete turnoff. But at Mallory Square, you can't alienate your customer that way. You've got, the more you like the person, the more easily you draw them in. And it also has a lot to do with myself taking my own self more seriously too. You don't have to do these things. You've got the talent, you've got the gift. So just let it shine. I don't get them to come to my booth. This is completely compulsory. If they're compelled to do this, I love this. I love to be able to do it for people. I love all of those things about it.
The close-knit friendships of people at Mallory Square in those days were really strong and solid. Our house, the house that he bought, was this tiny little 900 square foot wooden bungalow eaten up by termites. I come to live with him for the first time in November of '81, and there are all these other people that just start showing up. Hey, Bounce, can I stay in your backyard? Hey, Bounce, can I live in my van in your front yard? Hey, Bounce, you got an empty bedroom in your house for me? We realized we need more room in our house. His opening night of Busker Fest, where we were the MCs of that night. We walk out juggling hammers, and we said, you think you have come to Busker Fest? No, 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 no. We have renamed it Builder Fest. Bounce and I have torn down our house, and if you would like to come every day and help us build our house, we would love it.
We'll feed you.
Every day, people showed up to help us.
Who came and helped build our house?
They built our house. They really did. We couldn't have done it without the clowns. So we say it's the house the clowns built. This incredible gift that these people had given to us. It was really a joyful time.
And the house is still standing.
Oh, it's a beautiful house.
We're just so happy to be here, and I don't know how many people have that interaction. Challenges at Mallory. This all started as an expression of freedom of the arts and just the joy in life and celebrating another day. And I think that it's so important to keep this going because, like I said before, so many people, they come down here and they're happy and they're looking for something else in their life. They don't want to be looking at their screens, and they just want to experience the joy. And Key West is becoming so commercialized, and we're losing so many artists and so many musicians. This event is paramount to keep going, and it means the world to me that we have a specific place for artists to work.
It's like nowhere else in the world. We're, as artists, we run the place. There's no promoter. It's just us. You know, you have your work, and that's all there is. It's important is your work, and that's for an artist. That's incredible, just incredible.
When I first came down here, there were a lot more families raising kids. There were peer brats everywhere. There were, it was full. And there was more of a community. There was a lot more people down here. And Mallory Square was simply a natural result of this community of hippies and craftsmen and stuff that was here anyway. But over the years, some of the original founders retired, and it's become less people, less crafters down here now.
I started on the dock in '89. Well, in years past, it's been a whole lot busier. We used to have, you know, people waiting to get a spot. We'd have, the dock would be full. And that hasn't been that way for quite a long time now.
Mallory Square is a difficult place. You're limited by time. You got an hour before sunset to an hour after sunset. Got X number of acts trying to get in a minimum of one show or two shows. And it can be just very difficult. The people who were there back then, I mean, it was remarkable. People would come from Boulder. They would come from Montreal, Europe to perform down in Key West. And they could do it because they could find housing. They can't find housing now. And with COVID, we had such a huge influx of people when they finally opened the gates. Hotel prices went through the frickin' roof, and a lot of people who had housing, you know, they turned them into vacation rentals rather than long-term. And it made it so that the housing prices, you know, to rent is outrageous. I mean, the house across the street from us, it's a two-bedroom.
One bathroom.
Two-bedroom, one bath, and it's renting for $4,100 a month. I mean, $4,100, it's...
You know.
We have shrunk, and I've seen since Hurricane Wilma in '05, we've lost a number of our people out here. Back when I started in '02, we used to take turns going home. Our use agreement with the city only allows 55 artist spaces, and we used to fill this dock. But with every hurricane, we lost people who couldn't hang on, housing, and of course now we've become, you know, so many investors have come in, and we've got all these VRBO and these Airbnb properties, and we have nowhere really affordable for the artists and the musicians and even support staff here in town.
When I started, there were days I had to go home, there were no spots. So I think a lot about how can we get people back to 50 artists, to, you know, 12, 14 performers and 10 or 12 food vendors to make it more appealing to the tourists that come here, but not only the tourists, but also the locals. We need the locals back. Like, everybody I talk to is like, when there's family here, they bring them here. But we want them here, and that's part of our mission statement too, is to serve, you know, Monroe County. Our biggest obstacle is the rent. That's our biggest obstacle. There's like just not enough participants to help us with it, so we're struggling with that aspect of it. We're a nonprofit organization, and we don't charge the public for being here. We charge our participants.
As the word got out, oh, well, Key West is a thriving place where you can street perform. People began coming from other parts of the country trying to make a living.
You know, that backyard that I stayed in for $1 a night, it was 4-bedroom, and it was rented for $250 a month. Whole house. Now that house is probably $10,000 a month. Whole different ballgame, and that's one of the reasons I think why there's not a lot of street performers down here now. They can't afford to live here. The city has never accepted the value of what the Sunset Celebration gives to the city. I'll emphatically say that. They have never given the respect to the Sunset. What the Sunset Celebration does, it's an internationally known celebration that doesn't cost the city a goddamn penny. And the city has never given a cent, as far as I know, to any of the performers.
They charge people now money.
And it's a disgrace what the city has done, as far as I'm concerned, to they've never given the respect. See the crowd walking down Duval,
heading to Sunset,
and then walking down. If that sunset didn't happen,
those people wouldn't be
that end of Duval would be empty.
The only place in the world where I know where I can do my thing. My motivation is to preserve this and to share this with other people. A place where you can go, talk to the customers, make them something personalized. I'm in this wonderful environment, this pretty environment. I get to bike to work. I mean, it is paradise. And I want to preserve that. I love it, and I will work really hard to keep it for myself and for other people.
I'm just super passionate about this place. I think it is so unique and special, and I don't want to see it be lost, or Key West without it. So I will do whatever it takes to make sure it stays around for as long as possible.
I like to participate in democracy. So we run by a regular board of directors. This is a nonprofit. We're amateurs. We're not business people. We're artists. Everybody understands it. Everybody has their quirks. It's by their nature, artists are quirky, and they're focused on their work. They don't have. That's all they think about. So you work with that. It's not a problem. I used to be a zookeeper, so they don't bite me, so I'm pretty good. I don't have to worry about them biting me. So challenge is just paying the rent, paying the bills, paying the insurance. That's basically, it's not that hard. Most people understand in a cooperative.
Anytime you volunteer for a board or committee, anybody who's done it will tell you it's like herding cats. But the ones that do volunteer for the committees and the boards, they understand the importance of this and the passion behind it and trying to keep the arts going. And if you don't step up, who's going to? So that really became the importance of me wanting to be part of the board, is to view this as an event, not just individual businesses, which are important because obviously if I'm not making money, I'm not going to come out here. But I wanted to see us focus on it as an event, as a whole. And I think as we grow an event, it becomes more successful for the artists and the musicians who are part of it.
The rectangle. Every throw that comes out of your right hand goes diagonally to that corner. Every throw out of your left hand goes diagonally to that corner.
And you look at the top. You look for that ball. Throw it up.
Always up.
And then you're looking for the next one. Then you're looking for the next one. So your eyes are just going back and forth.
Wow, I feel like I'm getting a free lesson.
Taught tens of thousands.
I'm teaching my physical therapist right now how to juggle.
Awesome. You guys are constantly passing the torch on, I feel like.
Yeah.
Well, that's what we do. Every single morning before school started, Bounce was there with Jimmy outside the art classroom, working with the kids for a good 45 minutes before school started. Jimmy had this really cool way of starting kids to juggle. If you can stay out of trouble for the whole day, I'm going to teach you how to juggle. So the kids just loved the opportunity to do this.
Chase, Blue, and Reed.
When you teach someone how to juggle and they get it, when they can stand and actually throw 10 throws, this sense of, oh my God, I can do this, this accomplishment, it transcends just about everything else. They've taken something that looks to be absolutely, utterly impossible, and they can do it.
The fact that Reed, Jace, and Blue are down there, I mean, it's really, you know, it's a feather in Jimmy and my hat, you know, that they've taken this and they are committed, you know, and they've been doing it since the middle of high school.
They were like 16 when they started performing and passing the hat.
Sing it in the way.
Oh, I always loved it, man. I adored this place. I'd come down here after being on tour all year and I'd be all wore out. So this was my fun time, you know? This is like my vacation.
Since we have stopped performing down there, I miss more than anything standing at the water's edge, playing Somewhere Over the Rainbow with the accordion and the saw, watching the sun set. That was so special. I miss it. I do. It was always magical.
Well, the sunset itself, you know, it's like it's a religious experience a lot of times. The beauty of the sun going down and being right there on the water and the boats going by, and hopefully the camaraderie still of the people that are part of Mallory Square, because that was very magical. We were like a family.
And our philosophy was always, if you can make people forget for the 20 minutes, the 50 minutes of a show that you're doing about their problems, their troubles, and make them smile, make them laugh, make them feel good, we've done something good. And I think that's really how we've lived our lives. Just make people smile, make people laugh.
I wish everybody realized we truly do make everything out here. Every artist who's set up out here, this is their passion. And especially in September when you come down here, we're the ones that are here year-round. We love having visiting artists. If you're a local artist, hey, talk to our jury committee about coming in and trying us out. If you're a visiting artist, what a great way to fund your vacation. Come down here and check this off your bucket list. We'd love to have you down here and experience Sunset Celebration.
Oh my God, I'm so happy I got to see you. It's like seeing John Ho.
Oh, we got a friend?